Welcome in, everyone, to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Just me today. No hat either. I don't know where my hat went. But yeah, I got my retro Tim Tebow jersey, Jets jersey on here. Should be relatively quick show. We got a lot to cover, though. Preseason week 2 recast. We got one more game tonight. Falcons at the Jets. And then we got some trades to talk about. One that just went down a couple minutes ago. Included involving the Bills and Cardinals, and then we'll get into some more NFL news, and then finish up previewing the AFC East, Big 12, and Big 10. So, preseason week 2, we had the games on Friday here. Patriots getting it done 20-10 over the Panthers. Unfortunately for the Panthers, rookie third-round pick Matt Corral done for the year. Liz Frank injury in his foot. So terrible news there. Good news, however, for PJ Walker if the Panthers keep 3 quarterbacks, which they were going to do with Corral in the mix, but now with him out for the year, PJ Walker may or may not make the team if they keep 3. Bailey Zappi had a nice night. The one interception was not good. It was a pick 6. However, PJ Walker did struggle. 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble that ended up as a touchdown in the end zone there. Other than that, Mac Jones, 50%. Patriots offense still not there yet. I don't know, man. We'll have to see. Not much rushing from either team. 33 yards for J.J. Taylor for the Patriots. Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher for the Panthers. 22 yards on 6 carries for each of them there. Will Jordan Humphrey had a nice night. 5 catches, 71 yards on 6 targets. Derek Wright, leading receiver for the Panthers. 1 reception, 32 yards on 3 targets. And then defensive player of the game. There were 2 defensive touchdowns in this game. Even though they lost, I'm going to go with my Panthers. Corner Tay Hayes, 4 tackles, 3 solos, a pass deflection, and a 50-yard pick 6. Packers, same score. They beat the Saints 20-10. Jordan Love looking a little bit better this week, not having any interceptions, which is an improvement, but also more drops from his receivers, making his completion percentage look not so good. Did throw the touchdown to Romeo Doubs, who accounted for 2 of those drops, but the rookie seems to be slowly progressing, needs to get that drop issue, but we saw someone else with a drop issue last preseason, and I think the season worked out for him very well. Talking about Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase. So not saying Romeo Doubs is going to be Jamar Chase, but has that potential possibly with all the drop issues currently. Tyler Goodson continued to be good for the Packers. 10 carries, 42 yards, a catch and 10 yards. Ian Book played the whole game. 1 touchdown, 2 turnovers there, a pick and a fumble. Was very good on the ground. 7 carries, 49 yards. And Danny Etling completed his only pass, didn't go anywhere though, but he did run for a 51-yard rushing touchdown. Good for him. Chris Olave, rookie first-round pick of the Saints. He caught a touchdown from Ian Book, 2 catches, 28 yards, and that score on 3 targets. And defensively, I think my defensive player of the year is safety Micah Abernathy for the Packers. 4 tackles, 2 of them solos, a tackle for loss, pass deflection, and a pick. The Texans, they're 2-0 in the preseason, 24-20 win over the Rams. John Wolford got the start for LA. Played pretty well. 63.6% completion, 142 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 82 rating there. Bryce Perkins continues to do well in the preseason for LA. The 3 Houston quarterbacks were so-so. Davis Mills, a little bit under 60% completion, 96 yards. Great touchdown. I am very excited that I picked up Nico Collins this offseason in my Dynasty League. He was just a flyer of a pickup. I was like, why not? And it seems like he will be the number 2 wide receiver now that John Mechie is out for the year. Unfortunate circumstances of that, but Nico Collins looks to be Brandon Cook's number 2 wide receiver there in Houston. Kyle Allen was very efficient, 9 of 12, 71 yards, a touchdown. And neither team could run the ball at all very much. Trey Regis for the Rams, 6 carries, 14 yards, touchdown. He was their leading rusher. Royce Freeman led the way for Houston, 9 carries, 30 yards, 2 catches, 23 yards as well. And unfortunately, Raymond Calais for the Rams, who tied for the lead in rushing for them, 4 carries, 14 yards, 2 catches, 10 yards. He was cut this weekend, so he is no longer a Ram. Wide receiver Lance McCutcheon, he continues to push toward the 53, making the 53. 5 catches, 96 yards on 6 targets in this one. Did have a fumble, however, so that's a negative on his preseason stats sheet, but overall, 2 very good games for him. Like I said, Nico Collins, leading receiver for the Texans in this one, 4 catches, 48 yards, touchdown, 6 targets. Just completely stole the ball away on his touchdown throw from Davis Mills. Mason Schreck scored. Roger Carter, tight end for the Rams, 1 reception, 14 yards on his only target. Also on special teams, that's how you make the team, son. 8-yard fumble returned for a touchdown on a muffed punt by the Texans. Rookie tight end Tegan Quatoriano also scored a 6-yard touchdown for Houston. Defensive player of the game for me is probably going to be Rams corner Kobe Durant, rookie out of South Carolina State. 2 tackles, both of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss, pass deflection, and a QB hit. Saturday, Steelers, 2nd comeback win in a row in the preseason, 16-15 over the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, the offense looked pretty good for Jacksonville. Unfortunately, they didn't score a touchdown. Got 2 field goals, I believe, on the night there. But yeah, 66.7%, 133 yards, also ran twice for 13 yards. Mason Rudolph, the leading passer for Pittsburgh, played the majority of the second half. Actually, all of the second half. 17 to 21, 81%, 127 yards, 1 touchdown for Pittsburgh. The quarterbacks are very efficient for Pittsburgh all night. Just Mitch Trubisky could not get the offense moving enough. 5 of 8, 60 yards, 1 run for 10 yards. But the story of this game is Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is going to start week 1. I'm very comfortable saying that. Look, this kid has progressed every week of training camp. He continues to look very good in preseason games. And it's time. It's time to let him work with the ones, play against the ones in the last preseason game, if whoever they're playing plays their ones. And I think he's ready. He was the number 20 overall pick for a reason, the only quarterback drafted in the first round this year. So they know his strengths, being right across the hall from where he was when he was at University of Pittsburgh. And I think it's time to go. Kenny Pickett, your week 1 starter for Pittsburgh. Travis Etienne, pretty good in this one. 8 carries, 29 yards. He continues to be solid for them. The Steelers couldn't run the ball at all. Mateo Durant, their leading rusher in the game, 1 carry, 7 yards, 2 catches, 6 yards as well. Benny Snell caught the game-winning touchdown. However, he didn't run it at all. He didn't run efficiently at all. 3 carries, -2 yards. But he did have 2 catches, 15 yards, and that game-winning touchdown. Tim Jones, leading receiver for Jacksonville, 5 catches, 70 yards on 6 targets. Tyler Vaughn continues. He's another guy that continues to push for the 53, and I think he should make it. There's a lot of guys that are having nice preseasons at receiver. Tyler Vaughn's, Gunnar Olszewski. You can see Tyler Snead there as well. But yeah, Vaughn's 4 catches, 56 yards on 6 targets, and Tyler Snead 3 catches, 17 yards, a touchdown on 3 targets. Steven Sims was leading rusher for the game for the Steelers. 2 catches, 9 yards on 2 targets, and 1 carry, 11 yards. Defensive player of the game, that's Arden Key for the Jags. 1 tackle, it was a solo, a sack, tackle for loss, and 2 QB hits. The Bills absolutely demolished the Broncos, 42-15. You usually don't see this type of score in the preseason, but it happened a couple times this weekend, actually, with the Cowboys game as well. The Buffalo quarterbacks didn't miss much. They missed 3 passes all game. Case Keenum was on fire. 16 of 18, 192 yards, a touchdown. That's 88.9% completion. Matt Barkley, 7 of 8, 65 yards. And then Josh Allen was great on his first drive. 3 of 3, 45 yards, and a touchdown to Gabriel Davis. The starters were off very quickly in this game. And Keenum and Barkley continued to roll. As well as the running game for Buffalo. Raheem Blackshear, he's making a case to make the team. 5 carries, 58 yards, 2 catches, 21 yards after 2 touchdowns showing last weekend. Duke Johnson did have 2 touchdowns this weekend. 9 carries, 55 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Zach Moss also twice in the end zone. 4 carries, 19 yards, and 2 scores. For the Broncos, quarterback-wise, Josh Johnson wasn't that great. Brett Rippon, though, was fantastic. 22 to 26, 84.6% completion, 191 yards, and a touchdown. Also ran 3 times for 9 yards. Josh Johnson better look out, man. Brett Rippon is coming for that number 2 spot, man. Receiving wise, the rookie Khalil Shakir led the way. 3 catches, 59 yards, and 3 targets. Gabriel Davis scored. Eric Saubert for the Broncos scored. OJ Howard, new tight end there in Buffalo. 3 catches, 16 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. Defensive player of the game, defensive tackle Eli Anku for the Bills. 1 tackle, it was a solo. 1 sack, tackle for loss, and a QB hit. Lions, close one over the Colts, 27-26. Colts drove down late, scored, didn't want to tie the game, went for 2, did not get it. Sam Ehlinger or Jack Cohn, I believe it was, could not get the 2-point conversion there. But Sam Ehlinger was great. 9 of 11, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's what you want, almost a perfect passer rating. Tim Boyle was very good for Detroit as well. 12 of 15, 80%, 99 yards, and a touchdown. 2 carries, 8 yards. Jack Cohn, while efficient, was good. Just could not finish the last play there. 7 of 11, 83 yards, and a touchdown. David Blau had a pick, although he did score a touchdown as well. And then Nick Foles was very good too. The Colts quarterbacks were all good. And this one, 5 of 6, 56 yards, 105.6 passer rating there. Justin Jackson, new Detroit Lion, 7 carries, 54 yards. Good showing for him in his first action in Detroit. Greg Igwebikwe, nice game for him. 7 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Price led the way for the Colts. 6 carries, 13 yards, 2 catches, 10 yards. Desmond Patman, whale of a game, 5 receptions, 103 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets. Mike Strachan scored a touchdown for the Colts. Samson Nakua also did. That's one of my BYU boys there. Tom Kennedy, he's a guy that's pushing to make the roster, was on the roster last year, trying to make it again this year. 5 receptions, 24 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this game. A lot of stats defensively in this one. I think I'm going to go with Colts corner Tony Brown, though. 6 tackles, 5 of them solos, a tackle for loss, 2 pass deflection, and a pick. Defensive ends Deo Odeingbo and Ifedi Odenigbo both had very good games as well for Indianapolis. Chiefs beating the Commanders 24-14 in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes was great, 12 of 19, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns to tight end Jody Fortson, who had 4 catches, 19 yards, and those 2 scores on 5 targets. Sam Howell was okay. Threw a pick late that end of the game, I believe it was. 122 on 10 completions, 18 attempts there, 55.6%, 2 carries, 13 yards for him. Heineke was efficient, 9 of 12, 83 yards and a touchdown. Shane Buechele continues to be good, 8 of 15, 70 yards, 5 carries, 35 yards there. A lot of rushing for Shane Buechele. Dustin Crum, 3 of 3, 27 yards. Nice day for him. And then Carson Wentz, 6 of 9, 64 yards. Did not lead the Commanders on a scoring drive. I believe they played 2 drives, did the starters for Washington. Brian Robinson continues to impress, 8 carries, 31 yards in this one, little under 4 per carry there. Derek Gore led the way for Kansas City on the ground, 5 carries, 11 yards, 1 catch for 1 yard as well. Tayon Fleet Davis, undrafted rookie out of Maryland, scored a touchdown. Jarrett Patterson scored as well for Washington. Justin Watson making a push for that 53, 2 receptions, 53 yards, and on 3 targets there. Alex Erickson was the leading receiver for the Commanders, 3 catches, 44 yards on 3 targets. Also ran once for 8 yards. Talked about Jody Fortson scoring twice. Defensive player of the game here. I'm going to go with my boy, my Penn Stater, defensive end Shaka Toney, second-year guy out of Penn State. 3 tackles, 2 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 2 QB hits. Titans over the Bucks, 13-3, and this is where we get horrible quarterback play. Everyone except for Logan Woodside, although he did throw an interception, so bad quarterback play all around in this game. Kyle Trask, under 50% completion, 11 of 24, 105 yards, and a pick for the Bucks. Malik Willis, his second game, 7 of 17. So there you go, Mike Grable. He threw it more. He just wasn't completing them. 80 yards and a touchdown, 5 carries, 42 yards there. Logan Woodside, like I said, efficient, the most efficient quarterback in the game. 7 of 11, 63.6%, 56 yards. Did have the pick, ran 4 times for 10 yards. The starting quarterback in this game was Blaine Gabbert for the Bucks, 3 of 5, 60%, and 13 yards. Keyshawn Vaughn had a nice day, 10 carries, 54 yards for him, leading rusher in the game. Running back Hassan Haskins, just talked about him last show. We talked about AFC South. Sneaky fantasy prospect this year, 12 carries, 39 yards, 2 receptions, 8 yards. I'm telling you, Hassan Haskins, you need to get him as a handcuff for Derrick Henry. And if you don't have Derrick Henry, Hassan Haskins is still an intriguing prospect if Henry would go down for the 2nd year in a row. Reggie Roberson Jr., I was just talking of the American last show, and there you go, undrafted free agent Reggie Roberson out of SMU, 4 receptions, 47 yards, the leading receiver for the Titans and the game, 5 targets for him. 2 catches, 38 yards for Devin Tompkins of the Bucks on 2 targets there, rookie out of Utah State. My boy out of Maryland, love tight end Chigo Okonkwo, 1 reception, 6 yards. It was a touchdown, and he had 2 targets on the day. Olakunle Fatukasi putting up 10 tackles. He's the defensive player of the game for me. 10 tackles, 5 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. Raiders beating the Dolphins 15-13. Josh McDaniels 3-0 in the preseason now. Look, Skylar Thompson has been outstanding as a dart throw. 7th round selection out of Kansas State this year for the Dolphins. 9 of 10, 129 yards and a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater better look out because Skylar Thompson wants that backup job. Probably not going to happen, but I'm just saying Skylar Thompson has way outperformed Teddy Bridgewater this preseason. Bridgewater, 50% completion, 10 of 20, 119 yards in this game. The Raiders quarterbacks, Gotta mention quarterback Nick Mullins, 6 of 9, 39 yards. His last game for the Raiders. We'll talk about him in a little bit, where he went. Tua, pretty good, 6 of 8, 58 yards in the game. And then Chase Garber, 6 of 9, 54 yards, 4 carries, 44 yards there. And finally, Jarrett Stidham, 7 of 10, 80 yards there as the main backup to Derek Carr. Britton Brown continues to have a nice preseason. 9 carries, 70 yards in this game, 2 receptions, 7 yards. We'll talk about what that means. The production in the preseason from him and Zamir White. 5 carries, 8 yards. Not great, but he did score a touchdown once again. 1 reception for 4 yards. Talk about what their preseason production means for the Raiders running back room coming up in a little bit. Zamir was not the only White brother to score. His brother Zaquandre White also scoring. Zaquandre playing for the Dolphins, 1 carry, 4 yards, but he scored on a 19-yard receiving touchdown there. I told y'all when we did the Dolphins, the AFC East draft recap during our 8th round, Eric Ezukanma could play a role in this Dolphins receiving room, and he had a great game here. 6 receptions, 114 yards, 9 targets. I really like him as a slot receiver out of Texas Tech there, and we'll have to wait and see what his role on the team is this season. Jesper Horsted led the way for the Raiders, 3 receptions, 53 yards on 3 targets there. Defensive player of the game for me, it's going to be defensive end to Sean Bauer for the Raiders. 5 tackles, 4 of them solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. 49ers beating the Vikings 17-7. Brock Purdy continues to be good. 14 of 23, 128. 4 carries, 8 yards. Did have a fumble, though, so you got to put that negative mark on the left side of your sheet. Nate Sudfeld, very efficient in this game. 13 of 17, 102 yards and a touchdown. That's what the Niners want to see there. Quarterbacks for the Vikings, not very good. Kellen Mond regressed from his week 1 performance. 10 of 20, 50%, 82 yards, and 2 picks. Sean Mannion was okay, better than Mond at least. 10 of 15, 65 yards in terms of completion percentage there. Jordan Mason, he's had 2 good games for San Francisco. 9 carries, 57 yards. Ty Chandler, the rookie out of North Carolina, not good rushing the ball. 5 carries, 19 yards, sub-4 average there, but he did get in the end zone. Also chipped in a reception for 3 yards. JaMychal Hasty scored a 2-yard receiving touchdown for the Niners. Tanner Hudson was your leading receiver for San Fran. 5 catches, 43 yards on 6 targets. BC Johnson led the way for the Vikings. 3 catches, 29 yards on 6 targets. He was tied by tight end Nick Muse, rookie. 3 receptions, 29 yards on 3 targets. Defensive player of the game. What a game for defensive tackle T.Y. McGill. I believe he's had 2 pretty good games here in the preseason. 5 tackles, 2 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 4 QB hits. 4 QB hits in a preseason game. Very, very good for Mr. McGill. Cowboys. This was the other one I was talking about, the other blowout. 32-18 over the Chargers in LA, too. So the Cowboys were rolling here. Easton Stick, not very good. 11 of 20, 134, a touchdown, but he turned it over twice on a pick and a fumble. Did run twice for 24 yards. Chase Daniel was a little bit better than him. 13 of 21, 111 yards and a touchdown. That's the key. No turnovers for Daniel. I was surprised to see Stick start the game, but you saw the veteran Daniel. He doesn't turn the ball over. So Cowboys played 3 quarterbacks in this one. Cooper Rush got the start. 3 of 6, not good, 32 yards. Will Grier was the second quarterback. He has surpassed Ben DiNucci, at least that's what I read into that move by head coach Mike McCarthy. 6 of 10, 98 yards. and a carry for 9 yards. So very good night for him. Ben DiNucci didn't get much run, but he did have 2 for 2, 4 yards. And that's it. That's all that Ben DiNucci did on the night. Running game was going well for the Cowboys. 13 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. 1 reception, 8 yards for Cowboys running back Rico Dowdle. Rookie running back out of Florida, Malik Davis. 8 carries, 37 yards, and a touchdown. Also 1 reception, 6 yards. Josh Kelly trying to hold off rookie Isaiah Spiller for that number 2 job behind Austin Eckler. 7 carries, 18 yards for him. Josh Palmer. He is another guy that's having a very nice preseason and ascending possibly to that 3rd receiver role that we've been looking for out of LA. 3 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets here. Michael Bandy had a whale of a night. 8 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Big workload for Mr. Bandy there. And then Brandon Smith, rookie wide receiver out of Iowa for the Cowboys, led the way receiving for them. 2 receptions, 51 yards on 2 targets. A lot of defensive stats in this one, mostly for the Cowboys. My defensive player of the game is going to go to, I think I'm going to go with safety Israel Mukuamu, 2nd-year guy, I believe, out of South Carolina. 4 tackles, 2 of them solos, 2 pass deflections, and a pick. And, of course, we could not leave this game without talking about the man of the night, the man that is going to make the Cowboys roster, because he was the USFL MVP for the New Jersey Generals this year in the spring. Wide receiver Cavante Turpin out of TCU. 2 return touchdowns, not 1 but 2. 98-yard kick return touchdown, 86-yard punt return touchdown. Cavante Turpin has turned the Cowboys receiving room upside down. And now he has to make the team. I mean, come on. He had a whale of a game last week. This has cemented his status on the Cowboys roster, I have to think. The Eagles beating the Browns 21-20. Gardner Minshew was great. 14 of 17, 142 yards. Josh Dobbs was just as good. 14 of 20, 141 yards. And 4 carries, 47 yards, also had a rushing touchdown as well. Josh Rosen struggled, 7 of 20, 88 yards there for him. Reed Sinnett was pretty decent, 4 of 9, not the completion percentage you're looking for, but not really that many throws. 69 yards and a touchdown. He had a beautiful 55-yard touchdown to wide receiver Devin Allen down there, as you can see. 1 catch, 55 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets. That's the speedster. He's 110 hurdles champion and Olympic qualifier. He lost in the finals, I believe, of the Olympic qualifying round. Reed Sinnett also 3 carries, 16 yards. Carson Strong, he got in the game finally. I was very excited to see him. Unfortunately, the Eagles were winning. They didn't have to throw the ball. He did throw it once, did not complete it. But yeah, I was very happy for him to get in the game. The Eagles were running it at will. So were the Browns, though. The backups for the Eagles defense have not been good at all. Both games, the 2s and 3s have struggled defensively for Philly, giving up leads against the Jets last week. And they let the Browns come back until Reed Sinnett threw that touchdown pass to get the Eagles back ahead. But yeah, John Kelly, nice day for him for Cleveland. 14 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown. It's going to be tough to make that running back room there. Kenneth Gainwell, very good day for him. 11 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Boston Scott had a nice day. 10 carries, 33 yards, and a touchdown. 1 catch, 11 yards as well. Deion Kane, I didn't even know Deion Kane was on the Eagles, but 5 catches, 66 yards, and on 7 targets. He had a good day. Devin Allen with the touchdown. And then rookie David Bell, 2nd-round pick out of Purdue. 3 catches, 46 yards on 4 targets. I'm very high on David Bell. I think he could be the number 2 wide receiver this year for Cleveland. And then our Georgia boy is the defensive player of the game. Safety Richard LeCount III for the Browns. 10 tackles, 7 of them solos, and a tackle for loss. Great game for him. Also want to mention Josh Jobe, undrafted out of Alabama. One of my favorite undrafted free agent picks for the Eagles. 7 tackles, 4 solos, and a pass deflection. The Giants, 25-22 win over the Bengals. Davis Webb was lights out. 22 of 27, 204 yards and 2 touchdowns to bring the G-Men back to win. Daniel Jones, very efficient. 14 of 16, 116 yards. Did throw an interception, though. You know, we know about those Daniel Jones turnover issues, mostly fumbling, but he'll throw picks too. So again, the first team offense not looking very good. Saquon didn't play, however. I'm not giving any excuse for Daniel Jones. Brendan Allen was very good as well. 14 of 20, 105 yards. Jake Browning, 10 of 16, 89 yards. We had 6 quarterbacks playing in this game. Tyrod Taylor, 7 of 11, 37 yards. And then Drew Plitt at the end, 1 of 2, 17 yards for the Bengals. Travion Williams led the way. Rushing, he tied Jock Patrick for the Bengals. 9 carries, 28 yards, a touchdown, 1 reception, 3 yards. Patrick had 4 carries, 28 yards, and a touchdown. 1 reception, 9 yards there. Jashawn Corbin, rookie out of Florida State, carried the load for the Giants. 9 carries, 27 yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions, 15 yards. But the 2 receivers, man, that's who I want to talk about in this game. Alex Bachman for the Giants. I mean, holy crap, man. That's a great stat line for a regular season game. This is a preseason game, and this man put up 11 receptions, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 targets. He was Davis Webb's favorite target all night long, and they hooked up multiple times, twice getting into the end zone. The other receiver listed here, Cincinnati's leading receiver, Kwame Lassiter II, undrafted out of Kansas, 7 receptions, 91 yards on 7 targets. He was a great option for Jake Browning all night long. Love Kwame Lassiter, one of my favorite guys, undrafted free agents-wise in the league. Hopefully he can make the Bengals roster. And then defensively, I mean, holy hell, man. Linebacker Clay Johnson. We saw him with the Rams as a rookie, the Panthers. Now he's with the Bengals. And I mean, how do you not make the roster after a performance like this? 20 tackles. 20. 2-0. 16 of them solos. I mean, that's just crazy. And then on top of that, he added a sack, a tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. I mean, this man was everywhere all night long for Cincinnati. Keep him on the roster, Bengals. Ravens. They beat the Cardinals 24-17. Yeah, Ravens, they extend their streak. Preseason win number 22 in a row for them. I was mad. I live bet the Cardinals to come back. Plus 700. It's all right. They tried. Got within 1 score late. Just could not get the final tying score or the go-ahead score. Kyler Murray didn't play in this game, but he had a part. He was very effective calling plays for Trace McSorley and Jarek Arantano. They showed a graphic during the game, during the third or fourth quarter there. Fourth quarter it was. The Cardinals offense scored 3 points under Cliff Kingsbury. They scored 14 points under Kyler Murray calling plays. So I don't know what that means, but we'll see. My boy Trace McSorley was great. 18 of 34, not good completion percentage, but 229 yards. Did throw 2 interceptions, but he ran for a touchdown. Tyler Huntley was great. And this is what I was talking about, people. This is what I was talking about when we talked about the Ravens and the AFC North. Tyler Huntley should be a starting quarterback eventually somewhere. I'm really excited about his status next year in fantasy. And I'm hoping he gets a contract somewhere. Someone goes after him as a restricted free agent. 13 of 14, 129 yards, a touchdown, 2 carries, 9 yards. Great night for Huntley. Anthony Brown was efficient for the Ravens as well. 10 of 13, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, but he did have an interception. And then Jarek Garantano, 3 of 6, 37 yards and a touchdown, 1 carry, 15 yards, as his comeback efforts fell short there. Ricky Tyler Beatty out of Missouri, 5th round pick. Good night for him. 12 carries, 34 yards. Actually, I shouldn't say good night. He's under 3 average, but did score 2 receptions, 5 yards, and a touchdown. Cardinals couldn't run the ball at all. Benjamin leading the way there, 4 carries, 12 yards. And here we go. Tight end Isaiah Likely. I told y'all I love this kid kind out of Coastal Carolina. Didn't like the fit to Baltimore because of Mark Andrews already being there, but he still produced last night. 8 receptions, 100 yards, a touchdown on 8 targets, caught all 8 of his balls. USFL wide receiver Victor Bolden. I believe he was a Birmingham Stallion. 5 receptions, 66 yards on 9 targets, led the Cardinals in receiving. Raleigh Webb scored a touchdown for Baltimore, and Jonte Kirkland also scoring for the Cardinals. That was the touchdown from Garantano. Defensively, a lot of good defensive performance in the game here. I'm going to go with Chuck Wiley for the Ravens. 4 tackles, 2 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 3 QB hits. All right, that is all the preseason games we have. And before we'll get to this first trade here. So we had 2 trades. One that happened today, one that happened this weekend. Or actually, I think that this one happened today too, just earlier than the one that I don't have slides for. But the Raiders, they traded quarterback Nick Mullins to the Minnesota Vikings. Raiders getting back a 2024 conditional 7th round selection. The conditions of that pick to make it a 6th round pick, Mullins just has to be active for 1 game. And I think he will be. When you look at what the Raiders or what the Vikings have at quarterback behind Kirk Cousins, there's not a lot of proven guys. It's Sean Mannion, right? And then Kellen Mond. They were hoping Kellen Mond would take the next step this preseason and progress to be the number 2. Didn't happen. So I think this is a good move by the Vikings. I think I think Nick Mullins would be an upgrade over Sean Mannion. They can cut Sean Mannion and keep Kellen Mond as the 3rd quarterback like it was last year. And yeah, I think it's a good move for Minnesota. And obviously the Raiders, when you can get something out of a player you were going to cut all along, there you go. I don't know what this spells for quarterback Chase Garbers with Vegas, though, because it seemed like if the Raiders were going to keep 3 quarterbacks, it was going to be Derek Carr, Jarrett Stidham, and Nick Mullins. Who knows, though? They keep 3 quarterbacks. Chase Garbers has played very well for Vegas this preseason. And the other trade that happened right as I got home from class here today. The Cardinals, they are getting offensive line help, trading for Bills guard Cody Ford. The Bills get back a 2023 5th round selection, so good value for Buffalo there, getting something out of Cody Ford. Cardinals need the interior offensive line help. They're trying to upgrade that position, so good move by GM Steve Keim. Some general news here. The Bears linebacker Roquan Smith, he returned to practice this weekend. He is going to play out his contract. He is ending his hold in there. And Roquan will be a free agent next offseason. Craziest thing came across the Twitter feed this weekend on Saturday. Dana White, during a UFC interview or something of that sort, he was talking to Gronk was there, and he was telling a story. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski were almost Las Vegas Raiders. They were very close to being Las Vegas Raiders, he said. So, that he said that was almost a done deal, which is crazy. And now we know the answer to the HBO Sports clip from Tom Brady when he was doing his free agency in 2020, saying, "You're gonna really stick with that mother effer?" And assuming now that he was talking about Derek Carr, because Dana White said that John Gruden screwed everything up. He said no, he doesn't want Tom Brady and Gronk. So crazy stuff there. It's a great segment for the YouTube What If L or NFL. If anyone knows that, they're great. Conspiracy theorist kind of butterfly effect stuff there. But speaking of Tom Brady, he is back with the team now after his 2-week hiatus there. And he was back practicing yesterday. Seahawks quarterback Drew Lock, he returned from his COVID stint, so more than likely he's going to start this coming weekend, preseason week 3, last game of the preseason for everyone. So Lock's trying to make a push for the starting job because Geno really hasn't done anything to make Pete Carroll say that he's the number one guy. Cardinals defensive end J.J. Watt, he tested positive for COVID. He was not with the team in their game this past weekend. He will not travel with the team to their last preseason game, which is the Cardinals play at the Titans on Saturday. So J.J. Watt will not be there for that game. And we have an answer to a quarterback battle, one of the quarterback battles this preseason. The Panthers head coach Matt Rule officially naming quarterback Baker Mayfield the starter for week 1. So there you have it. Baker Mayfield, week 1 starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. We got some more guys off of the PUP list this weekend. And big names here. Panthers, linebacker Shaq Thompson. Packers, offensive tackle David Bakhtiari. And Commanders, tight end Logan Thomas. So good for all those guys to get back and practicing. Hopefully we'll see them week 1. Injuries. Many of these guys we will not see week 1. Patriots wide receiver Tyquan Thornton. He has a collarbone injury. He is out about 8 weeks. So big dent in the progress for the promising second-round rookie out of Baylor. Rams rookie guard Logan Bruss. He tore his ACL and MCL. He is done for the year. Crushing blow for the Rams and their hopes for Logan Bruss. I heard he was having a great camp and probably going to take the right guard job. Rookie third rounder out of Wisconsin. He was their first pick of the draft this year without first and second rounders. The Panthers, I already mentioned rookie quarterback Matt Corral is out for the year. Liz Frank injury for him. Bears rookie safety Jaquan Brisker, he had thumb surgery. They do expect him to be back for week 1, so he should be good to go there. Very bad news for the Bucs. I was surprised. I was saying Tom Brady wasn't going to come back because of the offensive line injuries. Ryan Jensen already out for the year, torn ACL. Well, Buccaneers guard Aaron Stinney tore his ACL and MCL. He is out for the year as well. So they're going to ask a lot of rookie guard Luke Gadecki, second round selection out of Central Michigan. He's going to be asked to do a lot. He's going to start at left guard. They have Robert Hainsey at center. And Shaq Mason, who they acquired in a trade this offseason from the Patriots. Bucks off the tackle Tristan Wirfs, right tackle, day-to-day with an oblique strain. So, again, another injury to monitor. That one you can monitor. The other two, are done for the year. But it's getting a little bit thin in terms of the Bucks offensive line depth. They really cannot afford many other injuries on the offensive line. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas, he has a hamstring injury. Got to monitor that one. Hamstrings are always finicky for wide receivers especially. So, big thing to monitor there. It means that I am not taking Michael Thomas in my fantasy drafts next weekend. Giants rookie defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau, he has an MCL sprain. Injured last night on a cut block by a Bengals tight end. He is out 3 to 4 weeks, so they are hoping that he can be back for week 1. Week 1 would be right at 3 weeks, I believe. So they are hoping he can be back for that. Guy that won't be back, his fellow draft mate, Giants rookie linebacker Darian Beavers. He tore his ACL. He is done for the year. Rookie, I believe he's out of the 6th round from Cincinnati. Terrible news for him. Was having a good camp, I heard. All right, it is Cutdown Day tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, teams have to trim their rosters by another 5 players, getting down from 85 to 80. So teams playing on Thursday and Friday and over the weekend, they started trimming their rosters down. Some notable names getting cut. Rams tight end Kendall Blanton. He was claimed off waivers actually by the Washington Commanders. Chiefs tried to put in a claim for him as well. Washington had a higher waiver priority. Crazy though, the starting tight end in the Super Bowl with Tyler Higbee injured is now not on the roster. Running back Raymond Calais also cut or waived by LA. Patriots, they cut tight end Dalton Keene. So Dalton Keene gone from New England. He was a draft selection, 2020 3rd round pick. Him and Devin Asiasi, both 3rd round selections in the 2020 draft. Crazy that he is gone now from New England. And the Bills cut some people, punter Matt Hawk and wide receiver Tavon Austin. Austin, I'd never thought had a legit shot to make the team there. But Matt Hawk is an eye-opening cut for Buffalo because of their rookie punter, Matt Ariza. He is your new punter for the Buffalo Bills, the punt god, as people call him. So Matt Ariza wins that job in Buffalo. Vikings cut wide receiver Albert Wilson. He scored a touchdown or 2, I believe, last weekend. But he is now a free agent. And the Raiders, they are expected to cut running back Kenyon Drake. So we saw the stats for Britton Brown last game against the Dolphins. Zamir White scoring a touchdown again. He scored multiple times this preseason, looked very good in the Hall of Fame game, hasn't run the ball as well in terms of yardage and average wise the last 2 preseason games, but has been scoring touchdowns. Britton Brown has been running very well. So I think the 2 rookies playing well facilitated the release of running back Kenyon Drake. And then one signing to talk about, the 49ers. They signed safety Tashawn Gibson. It looks like the Jets will not be playing their starters tonight. And one other note, the Broncos, they claimed running back Devine Ozigbo off of waivers from New Orleans. So he is another cut guy there. Let's get into the AFC East season preview. Here are some newcomers to the division. The Jets, wide receiver, first round pick Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. The Bills, we'll be talking about running back James Cook, second round pick out of Georgia. And then the Patriots, they traded for wide receiver Devontae Parker from the Dolphins in the offseason. And then the Dolphins, they got their wide receiver one. They traded for Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs this offseason. So 4 newcomers to the division there. And we'll start off with the New York Jets. The Jets re-signings wise, they re-signed quarterbacks Joe Flacco and Mike White, running back Tevin Coleman, wide receiver Braxton Berrios, offensive tackle Connor McDermott, guard Dan Feeney, and defensive back LaMarcus Joyner. Free agency, the Jets spent some money here. Tight ends Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzama, offensive tackle Dwayne Brown, guard Laken Tomlinson, defensive lineman Solomon Thomas, linebackers Quan Alexander and Jacob Martin, corner DJ Reed, safety Jordan Whitehead, and kicker Greg Zuerlein. So I think a lot of new faces for New York. I liked the additions of Conklin and Uzama. I didn't really like. I liked Uzama more than I liked Conklin. Uzama has shown that he's been a better receiving option consistently than Conklin has. Conklin really only having the 1 year in Minnesota last season. Dwayne Brown was a big addition with the Mekhi Becton season-ending injury there. So he'll be your new left tackle for the Jets this season, switching George Fant back to the right side. And then Greg Zuerlein, big addition there. He'll be fighting Eddie Pinheiro this offseason, this preseason for the kicking job. Losses, wide receivers Keelan Cole and Jamison Crowder. Tight ends Ryan Griffin and Tyler Croft. Guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses. Offensive lineman Greg Van Rotten. Defensive end Shaq Lawson. Defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi. Traded away linebacker Blake Cashman. Lost linebacker Jared Davis, and safety Marcus May. Marcus May probably the biggest one on there, but Fatukasi as well had a great season for them last year. Did not want to re-sign him, so I think that was a big loss. Morgan Moses probably a big loss too, as their right tackle last year. All right, schedule for the Jets. I have them going 6-11. 1-5 in division, finishing last in the AFC East. I have them starting off 1-3. They win 2 out of their first 11 games. So yeah, or 2 out of their first 10. I have them winning week 1 against the Ravens. Yes, give me the Joe Flacco revenge game. It's at home for the Jets. It's at MetLife. I don't know. They're probably going to lose, but I just like the narrative. Joe Flacco, week 1, beating the Ravens, the team that he won the Super Bowl for. I like it. The Jets go to Cleveland week 2. They lose that game. Week 3, they host the Bengals and lose. They go to Pittsburgh and lose. Week 5, they host the Dolphins. They win. I think they split with the Dolphins this year. So they get that one done. The Packers in Green Bay, they lose. They go to Denver and lose. They lose at home to the Patriots and Bills. They have a Week 10 bye. They go to New England and lose. So the Jets are sitting there at 2-8, right? And you think this season is done. They're going to get the number 1 pick, draft a quarterback. Zach Wilson's gone. But it gets better. It does. There's a lot better schedule. I have them going 4-3 over the last 7 games of the season, weeks 12 to 18. They host the Bears. That's a win. They go to the Vikings, and I had them upsetting the Vikings in Minneapolis. They lose in Buffalo. They actually lose at home to the Lions. I like the Lions in that game. They host the Jaguars on Thursday Night Football, and they win. They win in Seattle, and then they lose at Miami. So 6-11 there. Starred games I have not going to be many for the Jets. It's going to be week 1, obviously the Joe Flacco revenge game. I love it. Give me the narrative there. The week 5 game against the Dolphins is a win. Probably people have a lot of people have that as a loss more than likely. And then you're looking at my next starred game would be the Bears and the Vikings games. The Vikings won, probably a little bit of a shocker to people, winning in Minnesota, but I like that game. And the Lions game is probably also a shocker, saying that the Lions are going to beat the Jets. But I also like that game. Could see the Vikings and Lions games flipping. They beat the Lions, lose to the Vikings. Definitely a possibility. And then the Jaguars is a Thursday night game there. So I also actually could see the Jags beating them in at MetLife Stadium, but I gave the Jets the win there. Fantasy. So quarterback Zach Wilson. No, don't do it. Do not draft Zach Wilson. For 1, because he's injured and he might get injured again this season. And for 2, he is not relevant yet in fantasy. So yeah, don't draft him at all. Running back Michael Carter. Not draftable right now. I think it's a tough situation. We don't know how it's going to be split up in New York with offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. So I hate that he is on my dynasty team. I have to hold him right now because I just don't know what his value is. So yeah, Michael Carter, don't draft him in redraft. Probably I wouldn't draft him in a rookie draft at this point if he didn't. I mean, he's probably on a team from last year's rookie draft. But wide receivers Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. Elijah Moore is a guy you could probably draft. Maybe you're going to get some solid production off the bench if you're in dire straits at the flex position. But mostly I'm not seeing enough value for him there. But I definitely could be just a dart throw at the end of your draft. Corey Davis, I'm not drafting. He hasn't shown enough. He has had flashes in New York, but not enough for me to draft him anyways. So I don't like Corey Davis in fantasy. Tight ends, CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin. I think Uzomah is a guy you can definitely draft as your tight end too. I'm hoping that they don't cancel each other out in fantasy. I don't think that's going to be the thing. I think Conklin's going to be more the blocker. Uzomah is going to be more the pass catcher, kind of like New England does it, where Jonnu Smith is more of the receiver. Hunter Henry is more of the blocker, or vice versa. I can't remember which way that goes, but yeah, I like Uzomah as a tight end too. Jets defense, do not draft the Jets defense, please. Do not do that. They have some pieces. Defensive line, Carl Lawson coming back from a season-ending injury last year. They added Solomon Thomas. Quinnen Williams is a beast as always. And then John Franklin Myers on the opposite side of Lawson there. The linebackers are so-so. CJ Mosley just has not been himself since he was with Baltimore. Quincy Williams has been a nice find for them. And then they signed Quan Alexander recently, so he should be able to be starting at the will linebacker spot. And the secondary is just not proven enough yet. Sauce Gardner is a rookie. DJ Reed was signed for more money than a lot of people thought he would be. Jordan Whitehead is a Super Bowl champ with the Bucs, so I think he'll be all right. And then LaMarcus Joyner re-signed here. He's pretty decent. Ashton Davis has not been able to earn a starting job, though, as a third-round safety a couple years ago. Kicker is Greg Zuerlein, Eddie Pinheiro. I expect Zuerlein to win this battle unless he's hurt, because it does have a little questionable designation beside his name on ESPN's depth chart. So unless he's hurt, I would expect Zuerlein to win it. And I think Zuerlein could have value, probably not as much as if he was with a different team, but I think Zuerlein has a big enough leg that he could have value as a bye week kicker, or maybe if you're out of options in a bigger league and you have to go with him, I'd be okay with that. Rookies for the Jets in fantasy: wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Yeah, it's tough with uncertain quarterback play here. You're definitely drafting him in a dynasty. Maybe in the first round, depending on how many people are in your dynasty league. But yeah, I like Garrett Wilson in dynasty, not so much in redraft right now. You could probably get him, though, as a wide receiver 3-4 flex possibility this year. Running back Breece Hall, a lot of people are very high. Breece Hall, I think, is going number 1 in most dynasty rookie drafts. Yeah, I loved him at Iowa State. I don't really like where he's gone in the NFL. Timeshare possibility with Michael Carter there, but I think he's going to get more carries than Carter is. So I think you're okay. You're going to be drafting him. I would value him as probably an RB3. Definitely coming off the bench, I would not feel comfortable starting him at all. Tight end Jeremy Rucker, not gonna do anything this year. He's the third tight end right now. Had a nice game in the preseason last week, week 1. But yeah, you're drafting him in dynasty for the future, hoping that he gets a chance, but it's not going to be for a couple years. Okay, the Buffalo Bills. Re-signings: wide receivers Jake Kumro and Isaiah McKenzie, offensive tackle Bobby Hart, guard Ike Bacher, and then corner Siren Neal. Free agent signings, trade acquisitions. They signed quarterback Matt Barkley, and they traded for quarterback Case Keenum. They signed wide receivers Tavon Austin and Jamison Crowder. They since cut Tavon Austin. They signed running back Duke Johnson, tight end O.J. Howard, guards David Questenberry and Roger Saffold, offensive lineman Greg Van Roten, defensive end Shaq Lawson, defensive tackles Daquan Jones and Tim Settle, defensive lineman Jordan Phillips, and linebacker Von Miller. Losses-wise for Buffalo: quarterback Mitch Trubisky, running back Matt Breida, wide receiver Cole Beasley, wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, offensive tackle Darrell Williams, guard John Feliciano, defensive ends Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, and Efe Obada, defensive lineman Vernon Butler and Harrison Phillips, defensive tackle Starlo Tulele, linebacker AJ Klein, and corner Levi Wallace. Really like the additions, the two quarterbacks behind Josh Allen, Barkley and Keenum. As we saw, they played very well in a rout of Denver this weekend. The offensive line addition of Roger Saffold, I was happy with that one. They got a backup for Dawson Knox and OJ Howard. And then they upgraded their pass rush with Von Miller as well. So I was very happy. And I liked most of the moves for Buffalo this offseason. And look, they added Khalil Shakir in the draft. Gabriel Davis is about to take the next step. They also added Jamison Crowder. So I think the receiver room is going to be very much upgraded from Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders. The defensive end losses were mitigated by Shaq Lawson and Von Miller. And the interior defensive line, they got guys there in Jaquan Jones and Tim Settle and Jordan Phillips as well. Levi Wallace was a big loss, but they drafted Kyer Elam in the first round, so should help in that regard. Bills. This is the best record I've given out so far this offseason, this preseason, and these season previews. 14-3 for Buffalo. 2 of those losses I have in division. I have them going 4-2 in division, but 14-3 overall. I really like Buffalo and what they have on their schedule. At the Rams, Thursday Night Football season opener, they win that game. They win in Tennessee, or they host the Titans on Monday Night Football, week 2. That is a win. They lose to the Dolphins. It's in Miami, so understandable there. I think they beat the Ravens in Baltimore week 5. They beat the Steelers at home week 6. They lose in Kansas City week 6. So week 7 bye. They host the Packers on Sunday Night Football week 9. That is a win. They go to the Jets and win. They host the Vikings and win. They beat the Browns at home. They demolish the Lions in Detroit on Thanksgiving. They beat the Patriots, or they lose. They lose to the Patriots in Foxborough week 13. That's a Thursday night game. They beat the Jets and Dolphins at home. They go to Chicago and win. They go to Cincinnati and win on Monday Night Football week 17. And then they win against the Patriots week 18. Week 18, I could see a loss because the Bills should have, with a 14-2 record at that point, or with a 13-3 record at that point, they should have the first round bye locked up in the division. So probably could be 13-4 and lose to the Patriots, not playing any of their starters week 18. But starred games here, a lot of them. Week 1, 1, 2, and 3. At the Rams, they beat the defending Super Bowl champions in their house and say, we want a piece. We want what you have, and we're going to take it from you. So Buffalo wins the season opener there. Big Monday night game, week 2. They beat the Titans. They have been very good against Tennessee the last couple of seasons. And I think they get that one done as well. They lose in Miami. I think they split with the Dolphins. I'm high-ish on the Dolphins this year. So I think in Miami, week 3, after 2 very tough games, they go to the Dolphins and lose that one. Week 6 is my next one I have starred at the Chiefs. That's a marquee matchup. I have them losing that one again in Kansas City for the second straight time. Maybe they win. They get revenge for the divisional playoff, but I think in Kansas City is a tough place to play. Week 8 coming out of the bye, they host the Packers, and I think the Bills are a much better team overall than the Packers are. The Packers defense should carry the team this year, while the offense picks it up and the chemistry between Aaron Rodgers and his new receivers gets going. But I think the Bills have a good enough roster overall to win at home and beat the Packers on Sunday night, no less. Next 2 I have weeks 12 and 13. 12, the only reason I would start is it's a special game. It's a Thanksgiving game. They're going to crush the Lions in Detroit. So, sorry, Lions fans. Week 13 at the Patriots. It's a Thursday night game. Back-to-back Thursday games for the Bills. They lose that one. I have them splitting with both the Dolphins and the Patriots. So relatively late loss, but it's okay because they win the last 5. The last 2 are big. Like I already mentioned, the week 18 could be a loss against the Patriots, but at the Bengals on Monday Night Football week 17, that is a hell of a matchup for that late in the season. And it's on Monday night. Give me the Bills. I think they can beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati because they have a better team. And I would have loved to see that AFC Championship game last year. Bills Bengals rather than Chiefs Bengals. And we'll get to see it week 17. Fantasy wise, quarterback Josh Allen, he's your QB1. I enjoyed having him last year. I still have him on my Dynasty League roster. Very good, can run and throw. So, yes, Josh Allen, definitely draft him. I might not draft him. He's probably going to go higher than what I want to draft a quarterback in. So, but yeah, he's your QB1. Running backs, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. I love Devin Singletary. He came on late last year, was very good for Buffalo down the stretch. So you can draft him as an RB2. I think there's a lot of stuff going on behind him on the depth chart that might sway some people, but I would draft him as an RB2 with RB1 upside right now. Zach Moss, I don't have any value for Moss right now. He's in a precarious situation where he's trying to make an impact in the preseason and keep his number 2 job. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Second round rookie running back James Cook, I think, is going to get that. So I would not draft Zach Moss at this point. Wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis. Stephon Diggs, you're drafting him as your wide receiver 1. He's going to get a lot of targets just like he did last year. I don't really have a overall ranking receiver wise for him, but I definitely think Stephon Diggs is probably going to go somewhere between rounds 2 through 4. Gabe Davis, though, I love. He's not really a sleeper anymore. He's the number 2 wide receiver this year. Had a 4 touchdown game in the playoffs, NFL record for a playoff game, 4 receiving touchdowns. Gabe Davis, I'm very happy about. I have him on my Dynasty roster. I'm excited. He's going to be a wide receiver 2, I think, eventually this season because he has that much upside. So definitely you can get Gabe Davis as wide receiver 2. I would not necessarily try to get Diggs and Davis. That'd be a lot of Bills stock to have, even though I do have them at 14-3. But that's a lot to have 2 starting receivers from one team. Tight ends, Dawson Knox, OJ Howard. Dawson Knox is going to be a starting tight end, possibly. I think he's close. He's probably down in that 11 to 14 range for me. So even though he's on a high-powered offense and he had a great season last year, I still like a lot of tight ends better. Maybe I'm thinking about it now. Maybe he's more higher. Maybe he's in the 7, 5 to 8 range instead. But still, I think there's some guys that could have better seasons than him at tight end. OJ Howard is an intriguing option as a cuff to Dawson Knox. It's tough to take roster spots for tight end handcuffs, but if you want to do that, go ahead. Scored a touchdown this past weekend in the preseason game against the Broncos, and OJ could have a role in this team as the tight end too. I just don't think there's enough value in fantasy to draft him at this point. Bills defense, I like them. There's some question marks though. The pass rush has to be better than it was last year. AJ Epinesa, I saw him make a sack in the preseason game this weekend. So hopefully he takes the next step. Greg Rousseau, They have a lot of young guys. Him, Epinesa, and Boogie Basham. Ed Oliver is still young. So they have a lot of younger guys. And then there's Von Miller. So they're hoping Von Miller can help them up their pass rush and their sack numbers. The linebackers should be good. I don't know why. Terrell Bernard, I think, should be, or Bela Inspector should be the starting guy on the other side of Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, Edmonds. They have their spots locked up. But looking at who's going to be that third guy, I think Bernard has played well enough as a second-round pick out of Baylor. The secondary is your question mark for Buffalo's defense. Tre'Davious White is great, but he's coming off an ACL tear last year. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, probably one of the best safety tandems in the league. So they are good. They also have Jaquan Johnson and DeMar Hamlin behind them. But the issue is the other corners. Kyrie Elam drafted in the first round. They have Dane Jackson as a starter opposite of White. Teron Johnson is one of the best slot corners in the league. And then they have rookie Christian Benford as well and Siren Neal, who they kept in the offseason. So the secondary is the question mark. I think the Bills are a startable caliber fantasy defense. I would just temper your expectations for that. And I would probably take them as the 8th to 10th defense right now. Kicker Tyler Bass, you can draft him. He's a starting caliber kicker. Probably 5, 6, 7 range, I would think, on a high-powered offense. It's going to score a lot of points. Rookies, I already mentioned running back James Cook. Dynasty value is high. Maybe in the first round. I would probably think he's in the second round, but he could go first. I possibly. But redraft wise, I think you can draft him as just a dart throw late when you're getting to that area of the draft where you're just drafting rookies. So, but it's tough redraft wise this year with not knowing if he's actually going to be the number 2 guy behind Singletary or not. Wide receiver Khalil Shakir, not a redraft candidate, I don't think. He's listed as the 5th wide receiver as such. He will be this season. So I would say Khalil Shakir, not redraft, definitely dynasty. He's going to be one of your future Bills starting receivers there. All righty, that is it for the Buffalo Bills. Moving on to the New England Patriots. Re-signings this offseason. Quarterback Brian Hoyer, offensive tackle Trent Brown, offensive lineman James Ferentz, linebacker Jawan Bentley, safety Devin McCourty, kicker Nick Folk, and special teamer Matthew Slater. Free agent signings and trade acquisitions. Patriots very active traders. Bill Belichick is. But they signed running back Ty Montgomery, wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey. They traded for wide receiver Devontae Parker. Signed offensive lineman Darrell Williams. Traded for linebacker Mac Wilson. Signed corner Malcolm Butler and Terrence Mitchell. And safety Jabril Peppers. Malcolm Butler done for the year, unfortunately. So that was a tough signing for them coming back to New England. Losses wise, they traded away quarterback Jarrett Stidham. Running back James White retired. They also lost running back Brandon Bolden and fullback Jakob Johnson, both to Josh McDaniels and the Raiders. They traded away wide receiver N'Keal Harry, and they traded away guard Shaq Mason. They lost center Ted Karras to the Bengals. They traded away defensive end Chase Winovich to Cleveland. They also lost linebacker Jamie Collins, linebacker Dante Hightower, linebacker Kyle Van Noy, and corner J.C. Jackson. So I don't think it was a great offseason for New England. They really didn't do much in free agency. Devontae Parker, your biggest addition probably of all the guys they added. And I thought they didn't do a good job of keeping some of their more higher profile guys. The fullback, which is looks like being done away with in this offense because there is not a fullback slot on the ESPN depth chart for New England. So Jakob Johnson, maybe not a big loss there. Ted Karras, Jack Mason, I thought those were big losses on the interior. David Andrews, and they drafted Cole Strange. They like second-year guy Michael Onwenu. Or third-year guy Michael Onwenu. They drafted in the 6th round out of Michigan in 2020. Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, 2 stalwarts not getting re-signed, and then JC Jackson, obviously the massive loss in the secondary, which is not very good, and we'll talk about that. Schedule-wise, I have the Patriots finishing 2nd in the division, 9-8, 4-2 in the division, possibly in the playoffs. They open up 0-2 and 1-3 overall. At the Dolphins, they lose. Bill Belichick struggles in Miami every year. At the Steelers, they lose that one too. I just don't think the offense is going to be good enough against that Steelers defense. They win against Baltimore week 3 at home. They come to Green Bay and lose. They win against the Lions at home. They win at the Browns. They win against the Bears at home on Monday Night Football. They win at the Jets week 8. And then they lose against the Colts at home week 9. They week 10 bye, week 11 they beat the Jets at home. They lose in Minnesota on Thanksgiving. They lose or they beat the Bills next Thursday night on in New England in Foxborough. They beat the Cardinals in Arizona on Monday Night Football, and then they lose in Vegas on Sunday Night Football. They lose at home against the Bengals. They beat the Dolphins week 17, and they lose at Buffalo week 18. So that gets you 9-8, 4-2 in the division. And look, I have a lot of games started. The Patriots have a lot of marquee matchup games on this docket this season. The first 4 losses at the Dolphins, at the Steelers, at the Packers, and then they win week 3 against the Ravens at home. So yeah, it's a tough opening schedule. Gauntlet of 4 teams in September. And I think they go 1-3. I don't think they're going to start very well. The schedule gets nice then for 4 games with the Lions, Jacoby Brissett-led Browns, and then the Bears and Jets. Next one I have starred here is the Bears game on week 7, just because it's a Monday Night Football game. It's in Foxborough, though. Patriots should beat the Bears. Week 9 against the Colts. That's a loss. I think the Colts are a playoff team this year, win the AFC South. So, yeah, it's a big game for New England there at home. And then I have weeks 12 through 16 starred because there are 4 special games, 3 of them prime time. Starting off week 12 at the Vikings, it's Thanksgiving. That's the night game, I believe, Thanksgiving night. That is a loss, a shocking loss probably to some people. Then they have a Thursday night game against the Bills at home, and they beat them. I think they split with the Bills this year. Big win as well, week 14 on Monday night at the Cardinals, and then they lose in Vegas on Sunday night. So 4 straight primetime games, I believe, for New England. Yeah, 4 straight primetime games for the Patriots there, weeks 12 to 15. And then week 16, they come off the 4 straight primetime games, and you get the defending AFC champions at home. And I don't think they'll be able to beat the Bengals this year. Fantasy-wise, quarterback, Mac Jones. I don't like it. The rumors of the offense has been very bad. Don't know who the offensive coordinator is still, the offensive play caller. So I don't like Mac Jones this year. Yeah, not drafting him. Running backs Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Look, New England running backs are always a no-go in my book. They're both very good and both have their upsides, but Bill doesn't play one over the other, or at least you can't really tell. So, yeah, I like Harris and Stevenson individually, but when it comes to there's a backfield committee in New England every year, so not touching either. Wide receivers: Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne. This is an interesting wide receiver room. Parker, they traded to be their number one guy. He might be, but it's not looking like that right now. Jacoby Myers is probably your best bet at wide receiver for the Patriots. And definitely, I think Jacoby Myers you can draft, though. Draft him as your wide receiver 3. Coming off the bench as a flex possibility week in, week out. He has produced as an undrafted free agent the last couple of years. And Kendrick Bourne, I don't think it has any value right now. Produced some last year, but not enough, and not enough target share projected for me. Tight ends Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. I don't really like either. Hunter is the listed starter. I think that's your best bet if you're going to draft a tight end from New England. Both played last year a lot, and I am stuck with Hunter on one of my dynasty teams, so I'm going to play it out. He's my backup. So definitely you can get Hunter Henry as a backup tight end option. I don't know if I would like Jonnu Smith as a backup right now, but I think Henry is a viable tight end 2 for someone. New England defense. Look, this isn't your dad's Patriots defense. There have been a lot of turnover with this defense in terms of personnel, and the secondary is very concerning. The starters are Terrence Mitchell and Jalen Mills right now, with backups Jonathan Jones, Sean Wade, who was a 4th round cast off, or 5th round, I believe, cast off of the Baltimore Ravens last season. They traded him without even seeing what he could do in the regular season. And then, you have rookies Marcus Jones and Jack Jones, who apparently have not gone up the depth chart enough. So with Jack Jones being the most promising, they have said, 4th round rookie out of Arizona State. I love Marcus Jones, but Jack Jones, they said, has been the best one there. The pass rush is concerning. Matt Judon is your best pass rusher there. He has been good for them, but Josh Uche, I like Uche, but has not produced to the level that they thought he would whenever they drafted him in the 2nd round in 2020. So big 3rd season for Josh there. But yeah, I'm probably not drafting the Patriots defense. I think they're one of those that is in the middle of the league. They're probably right on the cusp. Bill always tends to get the best out of his defensive players, but I just don't see it right now. And then kicker Nick Folk. I don't like him. He's been so throughout his career, consistent with New England, but he's not Adam Vinatieri in New England, so I'm not touching Nick Folk probably. Wide receivers, Tyquan Thornton, rookies. Wide receiver Tyquan Thornton, it's tough because with the collarbone injury, you're lucky if you haven't done your rookie draft in your dynasty leagues yet, because you can probably get Tyquan Thornton undrafted now, hearing good things out of camp from him, from the Patriots on him. So 8 weeks is what they're saying right now. Maybe he's back by mid-season, and you can get some production out of him there. but taxi squad candidate for sure. IR squad candidate for sure. Can take him in redraft if you want to put him on your IR. I wouldn't suggest that. He's listed as the 5th wide receiver right now. Has some competition to move up the depth chart in Parker, Myers, Bourne, and Nelson Aguilar. Running backs: Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris. Look, I don't think Harris is going to make the roster. They have Harris. They have Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Ty Montgomery, and Pierre Strong ahead of him. They're not going to keep 5 running backs. So I think Pierre Strong makes the roster. Kevin Harris does not. Kevin Harris goes to the practice squad probably for New England, or he goes somewhere else. But yeah, Pierre Strong, I don't think has much value. Like I said, he's the 4th running back right now. New England drafts running backs every year, it seems like. So yeah, as much as I love Pierre Strong coming out of South Dakota State, he just got put into a very crap situation. And then I have to mention quarterback Bailey Zappi. Look, he's not going to be fantasy relevant in either redraft nor dynasty, but I love the guy, Bailey Zappi, fiery, coming from Houston Baptist to Western Kentucky last season, put up a whale of a season last year, threw for the most touchdown passes, I believe, in college football season history. Broke Joe Burrow's record. So, yeah, love Bailey Zappi. Wish he could supplant Brian Hoyer to be the main backup, but probably not going to happen. Alrighty, and to finish up the Miami Dolphins. So, re-signings here: wide receiver Preston Williams, tight end Mike Gesicki, who is their franchise player, tight end Durham Smythe, defensive end Emmanuel Agba, linebackers Elandon Roberts and Brennan Scarlett. Free agent signings, trade acquisitions: quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, running back Chase Edmonds, running back Sony Michel, running back Raheem Mostert, fullback Alec Ingold, wide receiver Tyreek Hill they traded for. They also signed wide receivers Mohamed Sanu, Trent Sherfield, and Cedric Wilson. Left tackle Teron Armstead, guard Connor Williams, linebacker Melvin Ingram, and punter Thomas Morstead. Losses wise for the Dolphins: quarterback Jacoby Brissett, running backs Malcolm Brown and Duke Johnson and Philip Lindsay, wide receivers Will Fuller, Alan Hearns, and Albert Wilson, offensive lineman Jesse Davis, corner Justin Coleman, and corner Jason McCourty retired. Big offseason for Miami. Biggest additions: Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead. Getting Teddy Bridgewater as a backup was pretty big too, and Thomas Morstead as well. Upgrade the punting situation there. I liked what they did. They didn't lose very many impactful players. Jason McCourty and Justin Coleman at the corner position, probably the biggest losses they had this offseason. So really like what they did though. Alec Ingold as well at fullback. Dolphins, I have them finishing 3rd in the division, 9-8, 3-3 in the division, splitting with all 3 teams. However, week 1, they start 3-0. Week 1 versus the Patriots, they win. They win at the Ravens, and then they win at home against Buffalo. So I think those 3 games are pretty big games for them, but they win all 3. They go to Cincinnati and lose. They lose at the Jets, however. They beat the Vikings at home. They lose at home against the Steelers on Sunday night. They win at the Lions. They win at the Bears. They win at home against the Browns. They win at home against the Texans. They lose at the Niners. Rematch for Mike McDaniel going back to San Fran. They lose at the Chargers, and they lose at the Bills. They lose games at home, or a game at home to the Packers. They lose at the Patriots, and then they beat the Jets week 18 at home. So it starts off very nicely. The Dolphins start off 6-3, actually 8-3, and then it just goes downhill. That gauntlet of 5 games there at Niners, at Chargers, at Bills versus the Packers, and then at the Patriots. That is very, very tough. I have them losing all 5 of those games. So that gets them to 9-8 there. But it's okay. I think they'll be good. I do believe in the Dolphins this year. They might even impress me and surpass my record prediction. Fantasy wise, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. I like him. I liked him last year. I like him more this year though. Upgraded skill positions, running backs and wide receivers. They retained Gesicki on the franchise tag there. So Tua is a guy I think you can probably get as a tight end, a QB2. I don't think many people are valuing Tua highly, so I think he could be a sneaky option as a QB2 right now and turn into a QB1. Running backs: Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel. I don't like them. I don't like any of them because while they all are good individually, Mike McDaniel is bringing this philosophy from San Francisco where it's weird because they have all these running backs, but then one eventually gets the load. We saw that last year with Elijah Mitchell. So maybe it's Chase Edmonds. And I would have to think that's the guy. Chase Edmonds is listed as the starting running back. I think that would be the guy that you got to get if you're going after a Dolphins running back because he's more than likely going to be the lead guy. Get more touches than the other two. So, yeah, Chase Edmonds, I think you can draft as RB2. I don't know if he has RB1 upside, but I'd be comfortable starting him as a flex/RB2 option. Wide receivers: Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson. Look, Tyreek you're going to draft as a wide receiver 1 all day. Get him in the second round and be done with it. Easily a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Even with its switch of quarterback. Jalen Waddle, on the other hand, value decreases a little bit with Hill there, but I still think Hill's going to open a lot of stuff up for Jalen Waddle. So I think you could be comfortable drafting Jalen Waddle as a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. Cedric Wilson, I'm not very sure on what his value is going to be in fantasy this year, but I think you could possibly draft him as a dart throw flex option in the later rounds. Tight end Mike Gesicki. Look, Mike Gesicki is going to be a top 5 tight end in the NFL. Gesicki should be drafted up there where the other tight ends, not where the other tight ends are, but I think you could get him in the mid rounds. Get him in rounds 5 through 8. Somewhere in there, I think Gesicki will go and will be a good value add as a tight end 1. Miami's defense. Look, I like Miami's defense this year. I think they could be a top 10 unit, possibly. Starting caliber fantasy defense. They have some good options on the defensive line. Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, and Emmanuel Ogbah, who they re-signed. They added Melvin Ingram in the offseason. Landon Roberts, Jerome Baker, Jalen Phillips should be good. Andrew Van Ginkel is a guy that always produces. Sam Iguavin is a guy not many people know about, but has produced in the past. And then Brennan Scarlett has been a career rotational guy in the outside linebacker defensive end rotation. The secondary scares me. The depth of the secondary scares me. The safeties are great. Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, Eric Rowe, Sheldrick Redwine. They also have, Clayton Fedulum as well. But Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, they're going to be good. Nick Needham should be okay. But then it goes to Keon Crossan, a first-round bust so far, and Noah Igbenogany, and then Kadar Kahu, who I've never heard of. They also signed Mackenzie Alexander as well. So the corner situation behind the top 3 is suspect, but I think they should be good enough. The Dolphins defense will be a top 10 defensive unit in fantasy this year. Kicker is Jason Sanders. Draft him. He's going to be good. He was very good last year. I expect the Dolphins to score more points this year. So I think Jason Sanders should be a starting caliber kicker in fantasy. Now, rookies, wide receiver Eric Ezukanma. Yeah, he is listed as the 7th wide receiver right now. So more than likely not making the roster if they only keep 6. Might keep 7. You never know with some teams, especially with new head coaches, how they construct their roster. But I like Ezukanma. I mentioned him earlier when talking about the Dolphins game against the Raiders. He doesn't have any pre-draft value, probably doesn't have any dynasty value, but I think he's a nice guy you could keep on your taxi squad if you have a chance in dynasty leagues. Quarterback Skylar Thompson, he's on here because he's been great in 2 games as a 7th round dart throw by the Dolphins. He's been very, very good. So he's on here just for, laughs, but I think he could eventually supplant Teddy Bridgewater if Teddy B stays longer than just this season. Okay, that is the AFC East. So to recap that, I have the Bills finishing first at 14-3, 4-2 in the division. Patriots finishing second, 9-8, 4-2 in division as well. Dolphins at third, 9-8, 3-3 in division, and the Jets 6-11, 1-5 in division. Moving on to the college game here, Big 12 preview. Here are my ranks, top to bottom in each category, in each column here. First, I have Oklahoma. Look, I wasn't sure who to pick. It was between Oklahoma State, and Texas. And I gave Texas very much a lot of consideration, but I just could not do it. I think Brett Venables is going to do well at his first head coaching opportunity in Norman. They have a roster. I really like Dylan Gabriel coming over from UCF. Big transfer there. So I think Oklahoma can get it done and win the Big 12 once again, like they had for the past couple of years before last season. Oklahoma State finishes second for me. I really like Spencer Sanders and the guys they have coming back. They're getting Spencer Sanders back at quarterback. Jalen Warren has gone to the Steelers in the NFL. So they're going to have to break in a new running back. But look, they have some wide receivers coming back. Brennan Presley specifically is very good. And also Blaine Green at fullback tight end. And Rashad Owens at wide receiver as well. So going to need some production upticks from those guys, but I think they'll be able to do it. And like I said, Spencer Sanders, I really like there. Texas is third. Like I said, I think Texas, Oklahoma State both have the opportunity to fight and win the Big 12. But Texas, first off, they got to play Alabama week 2, which is a tough out in its own right. But they get Quinn Ewers from Ohio State in a transfer. They have a Heisman candidate in Bijan Robinson. And they return guys at wide receiver like Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, and not Joshua Moore, but Xavier Worthy and Jordan Whittington. Those are the 2 guys they returned. Their top 2 receivers from last year. Really excited for Texas and Sark this season. Baylor finishes 4th. I'm just not sure about Blake Shapen. Yeah, they won the Big 12 last year. I have them finishing 4th this year, but they lost a lot. Abram Smith has gone to the NFL. Their running back from last year. So is Treston Ebner. He is your second leading rusher from last season. Tyquan Thornton is gone. RJ Sneed, Their second leading receiver, he transferred to Colorado. Drew Estrada is gone. He is in the NFL. Their leading receiver is Ben Sims, your tight end. So that is your leading receiver from last season. They lost their top 3. That's just too much production, as well as the running back loss. I think they should be able to reload Dave Aranda there, but I just think that's going to be too much, and they could even drop further with all that lost production. TCU comes in at 5th for me. I know my roommate was mad that I had TCU and the Frogs in 5th, but that's all right. Max Duggan, I don't know how many years he's been in school, man. It seems like he's been there forever. So Max Duggan returns at quarterback. They get Zach Evans transferred to Ole Miss, so they lose him. But they do have a guy I like in Kendre Miller, who was just below Evans in terms of rushing last year. And also they have a guy, Amari DeMercado, that was their third leading rusher. They do return Quentin Johnson, their number 1 receiver. Darius Davis also returns for his senior season, and Tay Barber does as well. So they get all their receivers back, lose their leading rusher, but their second and third guys are back, along with Max Duggan. So TCU, I think, could eventually be a player this year in the Big 12. Kansas State is 6th for me. Look, Kansas State lost a lot, specifically at quarterback. Skylar Thompson gone. They do get Adrian Martinez from Nebraska, so big get for them. Will Howard is still there as well, and they have one of the most electric all-purpose players in the country, and Deuce Vaughn, who I love, coming off a season where he had 1,472 all-purpose yards on 284 touches. So big season expected for Deuce Vaughn. And they have Phillip Brooks, their leading receiver, coming back. They do not, and Malik Knowles actually returns too, which I like. So yeah, they have a lot of guys coming back. Kansas State could be playing into the Big 12 conversation as well if Adrian Martinez plays out. That's big if, though. Kansas, look. Or no, West Virginia. West Virginia's next. My bad. West Virginia is 7th for me. JT Daniels transfers in from Georgia. I like him, but they lost a big production guy in Letty Brown at running back. So Tony Mathis Jr. should be the next guy up, second leading rusher last year. They lost Winston Wright to the transfer portal. Bryce Ford Wheaton is your top returning receiver. Sam James there as well, the third guy in the receiving yards last year. So West Virginia, I think, could be all right. We'll have to see how JT Daniels does if he can stay on the field for all 12 games. Kansas, I think this is higher than maybe other people have Kansas. I would think that most people usually have Kansas last, but Kansas actually has some intriguing options. Look, they have Jason Bean returning for his senior year. Their leading running back returns, Devin Neal. And also, they lost Kwame Lassiter, which is a big loss. But Trevor Wilson returns, and so does Luke Grimm. So second and third leading receivers are back for them. We'll see if Kansas can do something with it this year. And Jason Bean. Iowa State, big fall for Iowa State. Maybe Matt Campbell proves me wrong, but look, they lost probably the most out of all the teams in the Big 12. Brock Purdy is gone. Breece Hall is gone. Xavier Hutchinson is back. But that's it. Charlie Kohler, gone. Chase Allen, gone. Tariq Milton transferred. So, Jalen Noel is your next guy up after Xavier Hutchinson. And he was your 6th leading receiver last year in terms of yards. So that's a lot of production lost between Paul and Brock Purdy and the tight ends and wide receiver there. It's going to be a tough year for Iowa State. So temper expectations. Again, Matt Campbell is a very good head coach, but I just don't see it with Iowa State this year. Texas Tech is last for me. They don't have much coming back. They lost a lot. Henry Colombi transferred to Marshall, so they will lean on Donovan Smith coming into this year. Tyler Show is still there as well. We'll see who is the quarterback. But Taj Brooks returns. So does Sir Roderick Thompson at running back. Good to get them two back. But they lost Eric Ezukanma, their top leading receiver. They lost Kalen Geiger. And their third leading guy is back, Miles Price. But Travis Kuntz is gone, their top tight end. Mason Sharp returns to be the starter there. So, yeah, loss of production lost for Texas Tech. I just don't believe in their quarterback situation there. The Red Raiders are last for me. There you go. Oklahoma plays Oklahoma State in the Big 12 title game, and Oklahoma had the Sooners winning the Big 12 this year. Big 10 East. Starting off with that division, like I hate to do it, but I have to. It's the number 2 preseason team in the country. Ohio State is my Big 10 East champion, division winner there. And I have Ohio State winning the Big 10 this year, as do most people. They just have too much coming back. I didn't even have to look because I know they have C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and that is enough. Travion Henderson returns at running back as well. Ohio State's going to be a powerhouse. I hate to say it again, but yeah, they will be very, very good. Hopefully their defense struggles, though, like they did somewhat last year. Michigan. I have Michigan finishing second in the Big 10 East. They return quarterbacks Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. Not sure which one's going to start. I would expect McNamara to. But they did lose Hassan Haskins. They did not lose, however, Blake Corum, who is going to be your starting running back. I really like him. Cornelius Johnson comes back at wide receiver. You get Eric All back at tight end. And also Roman Wilson is back at wide receiver as well. So, yeah, they got a lot of production back at the skill positions, hoping to take another step forward for that offense in year 2 of their offensive coordinator. Penn State is third for me. Sean Clifford returns for a 6th season in Happy Valley. Really excited about Sean Clifford. Hopefully he can stay healthy for all 12 games this year. That's a big key for Penn State. They need a lot more production out of their running backs this year. Kevon Lee comes back. Noah Cain transferred to LSU, which is fine. John Lovett is in the NFL now, and Devin Ford is back as well. So they got some freshmen at running back coming up. So we're hoping those guys can produce. Need the offensive line to take the next step forward this year. They lost Jahan Dotson to the NFL, but Penn State has consistently had really good receivers. Parker Washington is the next one in that line. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith should be good as well. And Brenton Strange returns at tight end as well. So yeah, Penn State is third for me. That's kind of a homer pick, but I do believe their offense should be very good. And their defense is always good. They have guys like Joey Porter Jr. there in the secondary, and it's linebacker U. So they'll be fine on defense, even without Brent Pry this year. Michigan State is 4th in the East for me. They returned Peyton Thorne, and he's a guy I like a lot. 27-10 touchdown interception ratio last year, threw for over 3,200 yards. Biggest issue with Michigan State, they lose Kenneth Walker the third. Return Jordan Simmons, his backup last year, but he only had 276 rushing yards on 70 carries. They do get back Jaden Reed, but Jalen Naylor is gone. The Trey Mosley, they get him back, but Connor Hayward is gone as well, so that to replace him and Jalen Naylor, some production at the receiving positions there. But yeah, Kenneth Walker thing is the biggest loss for me, and I think that's the biggest reason why I have them number 4. Maryland, 5th in the East. I love Maryland this year. Look, they have a lot of guys returning. Talia Tagovailoa. Look, this kid threw for 3,860 yards last year, 26-11 in touchdown interception ratio. Had a really good season. Hopefully he can take the next step, and Maryland can be great this year. Tayon Fleet Davis is gone at running back, but they do have Colby McDonald coming back, as well as Chalen Fa'amatau, so could be good there. And they still have Josh Jacobs' brother is gone, Isaiah Jacobs. But the biggest thing I love with Maryland this year, they have their 2 leading receivers returning. Raheem Jarrett comes back and then Dante Demas Jr. also returns from an ankle injury last year. They do lose Chigoziem Okonkwo at tight end, but I think that's going to be all right with Demas coming back. The 2 receivers are the biggest thing for me. Talia Tagovailoa, I think, should take another step in Maryland. The Terps could be an interesting story this year. Indiana is 7th or 6th in the East for me. They lost a lot. Look, Michael Penix Jr. transferred to Washington at quarterback. They have Stephen Carr back, or no, Stephen Carr is gone. He graduated. Davian Irvin Poindexter is gone as well. He transferred. Peyton Hendershot, Ty Freifogel, both in the NFL, as well as Miles Marshall transferring. They lost everything on their offensive skill production wise. So yeah, it's going to be a rough season for the Hoosiers this year, and I could even see them. I was going to put them last, but I didn't. I think they could finish last in the East, though. However, Rutgers is my last team I have. Noah Vedral returns for his senior year there. They lose Isaiah Pacheco, but they do have a guy in Kyle Monangai who I think should be good for them. Bo Melton is gone at wide receiver. Shameen Jones, however, returns with Aaron Cruikshank. So they have some veteran guys there at the receiver positions. Noah Vedral, I think, should be better this year. And I think Rutgers possibly does finish as high as 6th or 5th in the East. In the West, it's a shocker. Minnesota. Look, I have Minnesota finishing first and going to the Big Ten championship over Wisconsin, just like Iowa did last year. Look, Minnesota has a nice returning cast. Tanner Morgan at quarterback. Kai Thomas transferred to Kansas. But look, they have one of the best running backs in the country returning from injury last year. Mohamed Ibrahim. Remember his name because he will be lighting it up this season for the Golden Gophers. I think he will be very good. They get Chris Ottman-Bell back at receiver, as well as Michael Brown-Stevens at receiver. I think they're going to be very good. Dylan Wright returns at wideout as well. And their tight end, Brevin Spanford, too. So 3 hyphenated names at wide receiver and tight end combined. I think they'll be good, and they will get the Golden Gophers to the Big Ten title game. Wisconsin. Look, Wisconsin could be good. Graham Mertz returns at quarterback. I'm just not a Graham Mertz guy. Look, he threw 10 touchdowns to 11 interceptions last year. less than 2,000 yards passing, was not very good. Freshman running back Braylon Allen returns for his true sophomore season. He's going to be one of the best running backs in the country. Ches Malusi is back as well, so they got a good 1-2 punch there. However, the receiving positions, Danny Davis gone. Jake Ferguson also gone. Kendrick Pryor is gone. They have Chimere DK. He is your number one guy, returning 272 receiving yards last year. I just don't believe in the wide receiver, the passing game. The running game can only do so much for you, so I have the Badgers finishing second in the West. Iowa's an interesting team. Spencer Petras returns at quarterback. They lost Tyler Goodson, which I think was a big loss. Gavin Williams returns at running back. However, Laporta returns at tight end. I think that's a big target there. Keegan Johnson comes back at wide receiver, and they also have Noah Reganey as well. So I think the wide receivers, they just need to figure out the running back situation, and Iowa could be up there in the Big Ten West conversation like they usually are. Purdue, I think, could be a surprising team this year. Look, Aiden O'Connell is a guy that's getting a lot of love in the offseason, threw for over 3,700 passing yards, 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions last season. Could be a sleeper for the Heisman, I think. They get back King Doru at running back, their leading rusher. They lose Xander Horvath, their fullback, and David Bell at wide receiver. But and they lost Milton Wright and Jackson Anthrop, both gone. So the skill positions, Payne Durham returns. That's your leading receiver. He's your tight end. And then leading wide receiver would be Brock Thompson. So losing of the wide receivers, kind of like Wisconsin, is a big issue for me. I do really like Aiden O'Connell, though. So I think Purdue finishes fourth in the Big Ten West. The Northwestern is fifth for me. And, they're getting, I believe they're getting a transfer quarterback. I'm not sure exactly, but Ryan Helinski is coming back here. They have one of the better runners in the Big Ten. Evan Hall ran for 1,000 yards last year. He comes back, but they did lose Stephen Robinson or Stephon Robinson. They have Malik Washington coming back, as well as Bryce Kurtz. So could be good. I'm not that sold on the quarterback situation at Northwestern. Evan Hall should have another good season for the Wildcats, but Northwestern finishes fifth for me. Nebraska is sixth. Look, they lost Adrian Martinez to the transfer portal. And they did get Casey Thompson at quarterback. So I think Nebraska could possibly move up to fifth or fourth. I just don't see them actually competing for the Big Ten West title. Big reason, Adrian Martinez was their leading rusher last year. Ramir Johnson returns as their leading running back. And they lost Austin Allen, their tight end. They lost Samori Toure, their number one wide receiver. Omar Manning returns with 380 receiving yards last year. Xavier Betts is gone, as is Levi Falk. So a lot of production receiving-wise gone. And the rushing attack for Adrian Martinez as well, scored 13 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback last year. It's going to be tough. Casey Thompson should improve the offense, but I don't see it improving enough. So the receiving losses, I think Nebraska finishes sixth in the West. And Illinois is last for me. Illinois is not very good. Brandon Peters is not there anymore. So your you have Arthur Sitkowski returning at quarterback. Not sure if they got anyone in the transfer portal. Chase Brown as your returning running back should be decent again. And then you get Isaiah Williams and Casey Washington, your top two receivers, back. Daniel Barker is gone, however, the number one tight end. So there's some guys back for Illinois, new head coach. Just not sure how it's going to work out for the Illini. And I have them finishing last in the Big Ten West. So Ohio State, Minnesota, is your Big Ten championship. In my eyes, I have Ohio State winning the conference. And that is the show for today. A little bit longer than I thought it was going to take with just me, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about. Just to recap the show, AFC East, Buffalo Bills 14-3, 4-2 in the division. They win. They are the number one seed in the AFC. The Patriots are second, 9-8, 4-2 in division. Dolphins 9-8, 3-3 in division, and the Jets 6-11, 1-5 in division. Big 12 champion is Oklahoma over Oklahoma State, and your Big 10 champion Ohio State over Minnesota. Next Monday we'll be back, and we'll have college football to recap. Yes, preseason week 3 recaps as well. We will be talking NCAA college football week 0 game recaps, and we'll be previewing our last season preview, NFC East. Definitely not the NFC East anymore. Not with Philly and Dallas this year. So a lot of storylines going into that division that we'll talk about next Monday. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media. You can see them here on the slideshow at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. Also at FAA_bets is our official podcast betting account. We will be tweeting out plays on there when the college season starts next weekend or this coming weekend, and then the NFL season starts in a couple weeks. So don't forget to follow that. You can also check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank y'all. And